I think I'm recording now. Yes, I'm recording. Perfect. Yeah, so I was saying you cannot count the number of sick people in the hospital and conclude that all or the entire population is sick, right? And conclude, oops. Conclude that, you know, the entire population is sick. All right. So the people in the hospital here would be like your sample, but this sample actually doesn't really represent the entire population, right? It's not because all the people in the hospital or the patients in the hospital or people in the hospital are sick that the entire, you know, all the individuals or the entire population is sick, right? So yeah, so what we are saying here is that it's really important, you know, to be able to sample or to choose a sample correctly, right? So yeah, so actually there are different types or different sort of or types of sampling or sampling techniques. So I'm gonna just probably give you a couple of sampling techniques, and then we'll have also, of course, some examples, right? So let me explain first. Some types of sampling or sampling techniques. Sampling techniques, all right? The first type of sampling, it's very basic. It's called the simple random sample. So in the simple random sample, actually every individual of the population has an equal chance of being selected, okay? So the first type of sampling is called the simple random, it's just simple random sample. So in the simple random sample, so the idea is the following. The idea is that every individual of the population, has an equal chance. So the keyword here, I would say equal chance. So everyone has an equal chance of course, of being selected, right? So of being selected. Okay, so everyone has an equal chance. Well, let me give you an example. How do we, for example, how do we generate simple random samples? Example. So how do we generate a random sample?
Got it.
Simple random sample. Random sample. Okay, let me give you an example. Well, let's say you want to choose 11 out of a group of, let's say, 121 people using simple random sampling. Okay, so an example. Let's say we want to choose, or to pick, or to select, to choose, let's say, for example, I mean, here, just give random numbers. I mean, let's say want to choose 11 people out of, let's say, out of 121 people, for example. Okay. using a simple random sample. A simple random sample. So what we can do, okay, so what we can do is I can first number the people, okay, and then I can select 11 of the numbers from a hat containing the numbers, from 1 to 121. Okay, so I can, for example, I can number the people. I can number the people. Again, we have 121 people, right? So I can number the people, and then I can choose or select 11 of the numbers from a hat. Okay, from a hat. So the hat, of course, contains, the numbers from 1 to 121, right? From a hat containing the numbers, from 1 to 121. Okay. So the idea here, guys, is that when you select 11 of the numbers from a hat, so everyone has an equal chance of being selected, right? It's just a random. It's a random selection here, right? So that's why this is what I call a simple random sample. Everyone has the same chance, right, to be selected, right? So this is what I call a simple random sample, because because everyone has the same chance, right? Has the same chance of of being selected. Same chance. Right. So does this example make sense? I mean, it's just a random selection, right? It's everyone has the same chance, right? Now, yeah, so we have this simple random sample. It's just for a random selection. Everyone has the same chance of being selected, right? And of course, there are other sampling techniques. So we have the simple random sample. Then let me just write it down here. So we have the simple random sample, and then number 2, we have what I call a stratified sampling. Stratified sampling. Okay. So the idea in the stratified sampling is that you're going to divide the whole population into subgroups, okay? And then you're going to choose random samples from each subgroup, okay? So first you divide. So we divide the population into you see the difference with the simple random sample. So in the simple random sample, I didn't divide my population, right? I just numbered the people, and then I made like a random selection, right? Here in the stratified sampling, so I divide population into subgroups, into different or distinct subgroups. Subgroups or categories, so the subgroups or the categories, let's say they depend on for example, the gender, the age, the ethnicity, etc. Right? So the subgroups, So for example, let's say the subgroups depend on, for example, the gender, age, or so I'm going to divide my population depending on the age or the gender or the race or wherever, ethnicity, let's say, etc. Right? And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to choose random samples from each subgroup. Okay. Actually, the subgroups, they are called the strata. That's why it's called the stratified sampling. So yeah, the subgroups, they are called, so in the stratified sampling, the subgroups are called strata. Okay. I mean, strata, it's like a Latin word for, I think, levels or something like that, okay? Strata is just a Latin word, okay? Anyway, so then we choose random samples from each subgroup, right? So, and then we choose, and then we choose random samples from each. So this is another keyword here, the definition of stratified sampling. So we choose random samples from each subgroup. Okay. So yeah, so the idea is, again, so it's just, let me just explain here. So what I'm doing, so I divide my, my population into categories or subgroups or wherever. Okay, so I have all these subgroups or categories. Okay, so this is like my categories. Okay, I have some different categories, which depends again on, I don't know, something like a gender or age or ethnicity, etc. And then from each subgroup, I'm going to choose a random sample. So I'm going to choose, like, from the first subgroup or the category, I'm going to choose, I don't know, 10 people or 100 people or wherever. Okay, so here's my first sample. Here's my second sample, third sample, and my fourth sample. Okay, this is like just my samples. Okay, so we have like a sample from each category, right, or subgroup. Any question so far, guys? Again, the difference with the simple random sample, in the simple random sample, I didn't divide my population, right? Remember, I just numbered the people or the individuals in the population, right? And then I made like just a random selection, right? Here, I divide my population into subgroups, right? And then I choose random sample from each subgroup. Okay, so that's different from the simple random sample. Okay, so if there are no questions, then let me move to the next. As I said, we're going to have an exercise and more examples in a couple of minutes. So I'm going to first finish all different kind of sampling techniques, and then we'll have an example where you have to determine which sampling technique we have, right? Yeah, so next sampling technique, it's called the cluster sampling. So number 3. I have a question here in the chat. I have to write everything, or is it if I want to? Juliana, well, you're supposed to, yeah, you're supposed to write down everything, but as I said, so what I'm gonna do, I'm recording the meeting, right? And then I will send you the link to the recording. So I mean, in some sense, you don't really have to write everything, okay? But of course, if you wanna keep some notes, sure, you can write everything. Yeah. Does this answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. If you miss some notes, okay, if you miss some nodes, then I can actually, I think I can, I can download the board file, and then I can send you I can send you the PDF file. Even if you miss some of the notes, then I can always send you the PDF file if you want. Just send me an email. Just send me an email. I'll send you the PDF file. But of course, because in a couple of minutes, guys, we're going to have an exercise. So you need to know all these different sampling techniques, right? Because you need to tell which sampling technique we have in the exercise. Okay, so let me just move to the next. Let me finish with this sampling techniques before the exercise. So the next one, as I said, it's called the cluster sampling. Number 3, cluster sampling. So the cluster sampling, guys, it's very similar to the stratified. Okay, Charlene. Okay, no problem. So this cluster sampling, guys, is very similar to the stratified sampling because first, we divide actually our population into subgroups or sections or clusters, okay? And then we're gonna select random sections, but then the difference with the stratified sampling is that we're gonna include every member of each selected section in the sample. So yeah, so let me just write it down here first. So then this cluster sampling, first we're gonna divide this. So it's just it's similar to the stratified sampling. So we're gonna divide. So again, we're gonna divide the population, right? Or the population into or area or wherever into subgroups or sections or clusters, sections, subgroups, clusters. Okay. So this is very similar to the stratified sampling, right? But then what we're gonna do, we're gonna select random sections. We select random sections or clusters, sections, and we include every. So this is, I guess, the keyword here. Every member of each, of each selected section in the sample. Selected section in the sample. Okay. So let me explain with the graph the idea of this cluster sampling. So the idea, and we're going to compare to the stratified sampling. So what we do is, again, we have subgroups or clusters or sections or whatever we call them. So the idea is the following. So let's say we have 4 subgroups or 4 clusters or 4 sections. Okay, so we're going to have 4. Okay. So I divided my population into 4 sections or 4 categories. So it's just the same thing like here in the, in the stratified sampling. I had like in this example here, I had like 4 categories, right? Here I have the same. Let's say we have 4 categories or 4 sections or whatever, 4 clusters or subgroups. All right. And then what we have to do, we have to select random sections, right? Or subgroups. So let's say we select the first. So this one is selected, and the last one is also selected. So so what I'm saying is that, so the first, first subgroup or first section is selected, and the last one is also selected, right? So we select subgroups. Okay, so the first and the last one, and then we include every individual or member of each selected section in the sample. So I'm going to take the whole subgroup here, and I'm going to include it in my sample. So I'm going to take the whole subgroup, this one here, and I'm going to include it in my sample, right? So again, here's my sample. Okay. So, I mean, I hope you see the difference with the stratified, you know, in this is the stratified, right? This is stratified sampling. So in the stratified sampling, I had my population into like 4 categories, right? And then we choose random samples from each category, right? So we have my first sample, this red region here, that's my random, my sample. So we choose random samples from each. It's not the entire, my sample, it's not the entire category or the entire subgroup. It's just a sample from each subgroup, right? So I'm gonna take just a sample here from the first, the second, third, and fourth subgroup, right? Now, in the cluster sampling, guys, so I divided my population into, again, 4 categories or 4 sections or whatever. And then we selected random sections. So for example, here, I selected the first, you know, with the yellow color. I selected the first and the fourth sections, right? And then I included every individual of the section in the sample, right? So my sample, it's not just a part of the subgroup, it's the whole subgroup, right? So here's my whole subgroup, and I'm going to include it in the sample. The whole subgroup is included in the sample, right? I see there's some question in the chat. Sorry, guys, because sometimes I miss the question in the chat, you know. So we select the groups as a whole. Yeah, that small amounts. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. Yes, we select the group as a whole rather than small amounts. Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what I'm doing here, and that's the difference. That's the main difference with the stratified sampling. Absolutely. Yeah. Any other, does it make sense to you guys? I mean, I hope you see the difference, because I know from experience I mean, you can get easily confused between you know, the stratified and cluster samplings, but yeah. Anyway, so again, if you have questions, just let me know. All right, so we have the stratified, the cluster, and then we have the how many sampling techniques we have. I think we have 4, or no, it's more than 4. We have 6. So next is going to be the systematic sampling. Yes. So cluster sampling. Then number 4, the systematic sampling. Systematic sampling. All right. Systematic sampling, guys, it's very easy. So what we do is we number all the individuals of a population in order, and then we choose a random starting point, and then we select like the cave individual or the cave member. So so what we do is we number all members or individuals of a population. Yes, is there any question? I think I heard someone. Okay, probably not. So of a yeah, number all members of a population. Okay, in order. And then what you do, you choose, we choose a random starting point. We choose a random starting point, and then we select the cave member. Select the cave member. So K here, guys, it's just an integer, positive integer. So let me just, yeah, so K is just a positive integer. Okay, now let me explain the idea. So that's like the formal definition.
I have a question.
Now, yes.
What is select KTH member?
Cave, that's cave member. So it's like if K is, for example, if K is, oops. What's going on? Okay, yeah, just to zoom in. Okay, sorry. So yeah, K is, as I said, is just an integer. So for example, if K is 4, then you would select like the fourth member. For example, K is 4. Then when I say K, that will be the fourth K. That's like the fourth, you know, the fourth member, for example.
That's confusing.
The K, it's because it's a random, you know, K is just a random number. It could be 4, 5, or 6, or so. For example, if K is 6, then you select sixth member. K is 7, you select seventh member, etc. But let me give you the idea here. Let's explain the idea, right? So I know it's confusing the first time, but the idea. Let me explain the idea. So what I'm going to do, so I'm going to take all the members of my population. So let's say we have, I don't know, we have a population of, well, it's this very, very small population. So let's say we have like 15 people, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. All right. Oops, come on. That's okay. That's 15. All right. So that's my population, right? We have a population of 15 people, let's say, very small population, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to number all the members of my population, right? So like first one, that's number 0. This is number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and then 14. Okay. Again, the blue points, guys, are just the members of the individuals of my population, right? Now, I said we choose a random starting point, right? So we choose a random starting point. So for example, it's random, right? So I'm gonna choose this individual here, this one here. This is, let's say, my starting point. So I'm gonna start at number 5, right? This is my starting point. Okay. And then let's say K is, again, K could be any positive integer. It depends on the, depends on the example or the problem. So let's say K is a 7. Okay. So if K is 7, so then I need to we select the 7th member. Select the 7th member, starting from this green point, right? 7th member. So let's count. Let's go with the red. Okay, so like this is 1. This is the first member. This is my, so the green point, that's my starting point. Okay, the green point is my starting point, and then the next individual, that's my first member. This is my first member. This is my second member, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and then this one here, it's my 7th member. So I'm gonna select the 7th member. So I'm gonna select this one here. So this one is selected. So this member or this individual is selected. So I'm gonna choose this one here, the red, you know, the red circle, the red point. That will be. I'm gonna include this red point or this red point in my sample. Okay. Does it make sense now? I mean, again, the K is just a random number. It depends on the problem or the exercise or whatever. Yeah, so you pick a starting point and then you count until you arrive to the number K. All right. Any question, guys? Does it make sense to you now with this this graph here? I mean, these points.
They'll give you a starting point, like depending
yes, yes. The starting point is going to be given. It depends on the problem. Yes. Okay. Yeah. So I'm going to give you like probably later. I'm going to give you an example, and so the starting point is going to be given like in the explicitly given in the problem. I'll tell you this is your starting point. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, it depends on it depends on the problem, the exercise, but yeah, in general, it's given. The starting point is given. All right. And the K is also given. I mean, in the problem, you'll see you have to select, I don't know, the K is 100, then you have to select the 100th member or wherever, right? Okay, so if there are no questions, guys, let me finish again with this sampling techniques, and then we're going to have a couple of exercises, examples. So that's for the systematic sampling. Just remember, you number the individuals, you choose a starting point, and then you select the kth number. Now, next, actually, you can combine all these different sampling techniques. You can combine, you can start with let's say a stratified sampling, and then, do a systematic sampling, so you can actually combine all these sampling techniques. So that will be my number 5. Oops. So that will be my number 5. So number 5, it's called multi-stage multi-stage sampling. So in the multi-stage sampling, all we do is we combine. So we combine different sampling. We can combine different sampling techniques. So all I'm saying is that you can use more than one sampling technique. You can use 2 sampling techniques at the same time, or 3, or wherever, right? So we can combine different sampling techniques. Okay. And the last sampling, guys, number 6. So we can combine all these sampling techniques, or so in number 6, there is what we call the convenience sampling. In the convenience sampling, guys, for example, you want to do a survey about I don't know, the average age of I don't know, of New Yorkers or something. Okay, so you can, for example, just call some friends or relatives, or co-workers, and take the average of their age, right? So you what you do basically is you create a sample by using data from populations members that are easily available, right? So because you can always call a friend, or you can always call a relative. So that's how you create a sample. So here we create a sample by using. So we can create a sample sample by using, data from people, that are easily available. So usually friends or relatives, etc. So by using data from individuals, okay, that are easily available. Okay, so for example, friends, relatives, co-workers, etc. Okay. All right, so let's have a couple of examples, guys. Exercise. So exercise 1. Let's start with the first exercise. So exercise 1. So let's say we want to a sampling size of 100, let's say, businesses in New York. Okay, 100 businesses in New York or in Bronx or wherever. Okay. So I'm gonna give you a couple of techniques, sampling techniques, and you have to categorize each technique. So you have to say, or have to determine, let's say you have to categorize each technique as, so we have the simple random sample, simple random sample, or so we have the stratified sampling, stratified sampling. We have the cluster or cluster sampling. We have the or systematic. Okay, or the convenience sampling. Sampling. All right. So in the first sampling, in the first technique, we're gonna, so number 1, or A, let's say A. So in A, so we have this, let's say in A. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna assign each business. So in A, so we're gonna assign each business in New York a number. Business in New York a number. Okay. So we're gonna take all the businesses in New York and we're gonna assign them a number. All right, and then we're gonna select, again, guys, we need a sample of 100 businesses, right, in New York, 100 businesses in New York. So in A here, I'm gonna take all the businesses in New York, the whole population in New York, and I'm gonna assign them a number, right? And then I'm gonna select a number, and then select a number select a number to be included in the sample. In the sample. Okay, so the question here, guys, so we have to say if this is a simple random sample, a stratified, cluster, systematic, or convenience sampling. Okay, so the question, of course, is this a simple random sample? Sorry, a simple random sample, or stratified, or cluster, or systematic, or convenience sampling. Okay, so this is the first technique. That's the A. Okay, let me just give you more techniques here. So in B, so what we're gonna do in B? In B, we're gonna use the zip codes to divide. So in B, I'm gonna use the zip codes to divide, of course. So you can use zip codes to divide, you know, the New York into areas, right, or regions. Okay, and then we're gonna pick a random sample of 10 zip code areas. Pick, let's say 10. A random sample of 10. A random sample of 10 you know, zip code areas. Okay, and then include all the businesses. So I guess the keyword here, all the businesses and the, of course, in each selected zip code area, and the sample in each selected zip code area in the sample. Okay, so the question, guys, of course, is this a simple random sample or stratified sampling, etc., right? So this is my second sampling technique, and then the third possibility. So in C, let's say in C, what I'm going to do in C. So in C, okay, so in C, I'm gonna again divide the businesses according to their, actually this time I'm gonna use the type of the business. So I'm gonna in C, I'm gonna group the businesses according to the type. For example, to the type of the business. For example, I don't know, for example, financial businesses, and then you have, let's say, construction businesses. To the type, for example, financial businesses, then you have construction businesses. So here, I'm gonna divide the businesses, you know, into subgroups, right? According to the type, for financial, construction, what else? Medical businesses, etc. So medical, etc. Okay. So I'm going to divide the businesses into subgroups depending on the type, and then we select a random sample of 10 businesses from each type. So then let's say select a random sample of 10 businesses from each type. A random sample of 10, let's say, businesses from each type, and I'm gonna include them in the and the sample, of course, of businesses from each type, and include them in the sample, of course. All right, so you have to say here, guys, if I use this sampling technique, then this would be a simple random sample or stratified, you have to determine the sampling technique used here, right? So, all right, so I guess I'm gonna give you a couple of minutes to think about this exercise. All right, and of course, if you have any question, I'm here to answer them. So again, you have to tell, so like for A, you have to tell whether it's a simple random sample, et cetera, right? So you have to specify here. Let me just write here. So which sampling technique is used here? Okay. So I guess this is where you're gonna need the notes, right? Just to review
Yes,
the
please.
definition of yeah. So I can go up. I mean, I don't know if you.
I just needed that one part that was that was after how do we generate simple random samples.
The sample, okay.
Yeah,
that was an example. Yeah, so here is, I guess this is this example. Right here.
Right there. Yep.
Mhm.
All right, I'm writing it quickly. Example.
No, I mean, this is just an example to say, well, in this simple random sample, all we do is just we select people randomly, right? You take your population and then just select people randomly. So we don't divide like the population into get subgroups or categories. It's just very random.
Random.
Mhm.
Okay.
So everyone has the same chance of course, of being selected here. Oops. Of being selected. Okay, I probably you are done with this example. Okay, probably you're done.
I'm done. Thank you.
Sure. Sorry, no problem. I'm just because I probably some people didn't finish writing down the exercise. That's why I'm here, right here. Okay. So you have to figure out which sampling technique is used in each problem here, A, B, and C. Of course, this is the zip code here. It's a Z. So just compare, guys, just review the definition of the sampling techniques, all right, and then try to identify, which sampling technique we are using here. Juliana, you're saying you don't understand. Okay, that's normal. I mean, this is like our first exercise. We're gonna have one more exercise, and then I'm gonna try, to explain. Of course, I'm gonna try to explain the answers here, but that's I guess quite normal because I guess this is the first time you are seeing these definitions. So yeah, it's normal. I mean, if you don't understand. And I'm going to explain in this exercise because this is like our first true example of sampling techniques. So don't worry. So again, guys, try to review the definitions of the sampling techniques. to see, which one corresponds to A, to B, and then to C. All right. Anyway, so as I said, we're gonna have one more exercise. So let me. This is our first true exercise or example. So yeah. So for A, guys. So we have to choose between. The idea again is. So we have. So how many sampling techniques here? So we have the. Let me just remind you. So we have the simple random sample, the stratified sampling, cluster sampling, systematic sampling, or convenience sampling, right? So for A, let's try to read the number A. So in A, so what we do is the following. We assign each business in New York a number, right? And then select a number to be included in the sample, right? So we need the sample again. We need a sample of 100 businesses in New York, right? We want a sample of 100 businesses in New York, right? So I'm gonna select 100 businesses in New York. So of course, there are infinite ways to select 100 businesses in New York, right? So in A, so what we are doing in A, we assign each business a number, and then select a number to be included in the sample, the 100 sample, right? So let's see, is this a stratified, is this a stratified sampling? Well, remember in the stratified sampling, we said in the stratified sampling, we are supposed to divide the population into subgroups, right? Remember, let me just come back to the definition here. In the right here, in the stratified sampling, right here. So we said we divide the population into subgroups, right? Here's my subgroups or categories, right? I have like 4 categories, right? I divide my population into categories, right? So in the exercise, what will be the population in the exercise? We are in the exercise, we are interested in the businesses in New York, right? We are interested, as you can see here, right? We are interested in the businesses in New York, and we want a sample of 100 businesses, right? So my population here is the businesses, all the businesses in New York. That's my population here, because that's what I'm interested in, right? So I have all the businesses in New York, right? And we want a sample of 100 businesses. Now, as I said, in the stratified sampling, what we do is we divide, where is it? Right here. So we divide the population. So in our case, or our exercise, the population is the businesses in New York, right? So we are supposed to divide the businesses in New York into subgroups, okay? So my question for you guys, am I dividing the businesses in New York into subgroups in A? Well, as you can see in A, I'm not dividing the businesses into subgroups, right? I'm assigning numbers, okay? So A, it's not stratified sampling, right? Does this make sense to you guys? So A, it's not
I think you muted yourself.
Everybody hear me?
I heard you.
Yes, yes.
Yes, I think the professor Murray herself, the host of it.
Professor, if you can hear us, you're muted, or I don't know if he's still in here. Let me see.
It's like going in and out.
Mister, are you there? Hello?
Hello?
Guys, do you hear me now? I think we had some
Yes.
Yes.
technical problem. I don't know what happened.
Yes.
I think that the Zoom, there's a problem with Zoom. Sorry about that. Oops. Okay. I'm gonna share, I guess, the screen again. All right. And go here. All right. Okay. Do you remember where I you stopped hearing me, like in A or in B, the problem A or the problem B?
A professor.
Okay. 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 I'm sorry about that. I guess I don't know what was the problem, but anyway. So yeah, in A I was saying yeah. So in A, we didn't divide the businesses into categories, right? So it's not a stratified sampling. It's not, in stratified sampling, we're supposed to divide the population into subgroups, the same in the cluster sampling, right? In the cluster sampling, remember here in the cluster sampling, we divide the population into subgroups, the same in the, in the stratified sampling, we divide the population into subgroups. But here in A, we are not dividing the population into subgroups, right? It just in A, we are here. In A, we are assigning each business a number, right? And then we select just random numbers to be included in the sample. So it's not, yeah, I was saying, so it's not stratified sampling. It's not the cluster sampling, right? The question now, is it systematic sampling? In the systematic sampling, guys, so what we do, remember, there's this starting point. Well, we number all the individuals of a population, right? And then we choose like a random starting point and then select kth member, right? So here, I don't have a random starting point, right? So on the A, it doesn't mention like a starting point. There's no starting point, right? So it's not a systematic sampling. Okay. Now, is it the convenience sampling? So in convenience sampling, we are just, what we do is we create a sample. They're using data from individuals that are easily available. So for example, friends or etc. So here in A, I'm not, I'm not contacting like friends or relatives. I mean, the businesses here, I'm not selecting like friend businesses or relatives businesses, etc. So the A, it's not a convenience sampling, right? So in A, all we do is just number the businesses and select random numbers. And so that's exactly the simple, so that's exactly a simple random sample. Oops, right here. So this is, so this is just a simple random sample. Okay. I mean, does this make sense to you? Why this is a simple random sample? I'm just numbering the individuals, and everyone has an equal chance of being selected. So that's exactly what I call a simple random sample, right? Like, so you can see the difference with B. So in B, what we are doing is, so in B, so we're gonna use the zip codes, to divide New York into regions. So I'm gonna divide my businesses, the businesses in New York, right, into like into sections or areas, zip code areas, right? So here there's a division into subgroups, which depends on the zip code, right? So when you divide into subgroups, that's exactly, so it's going to be either, it's going to be either a cluster sampling. We divide the population, into sections, etc., or, a stratified sampling. In the stratified sampling, we divide also the population into subgroups, right? Now, do you have any guess, guys? I mean, if B is a stratified or a cluster sampling? Any guess for B?
It's traffic.
Excuse me? Cluster, yes, yes, absolutely. You can't hear me again? Well, that's going to be a problem if
Yeah, I can hear you.
you can. Okay, okay,
Yes, I can hear you.
okay, perfect. Okay.
I can hear you too.
Okay, that's good. Okay, this is just first day online, so there are always some problems. Thank you, guys. Yes, absolutely, you're right, guys. That's a cluster sampling because, well, first we divide the businesses in New York into regions depending on the zip code, right? And then you see here, we pick a random sample of 10 zip code areas, and then we include all the businesses in each selected zip code in the sample. So if you compare this to the cluster sampling, remember in the cluster sampling, here's my cluster sampling. So we divide, so as you can see, so we divide the population into sections or subgroups. So like we have 4 subgroups here, but then we select random sections, and then we include every member of each selected section in the sample. And that's exactly what we do here. In B, we select, so we divide businesses in New York into regions depending on the zip code, and then we selected a random sample of 10 zip code areas, and we include all of them, all the businesses in each selected zip code in the sample. So that's exactly, that corresponds to to a cluster.
The answer is the sample.
Yeah, so
Letter B.
cluster sampling.
What?
Yeah. Yes, it's a cluster sampling.
Letter.
All right, now what about the C? Any guess for C?
Convenience.
No, convenience. We said for convenience, that's when you you use you create sample by using data from from friends or from co-workers, from relatives. So in C, you see in the C what happens. So first, so you group the businesses according to the type. So in some sense, we divide the businesses into subgroups, which depends on the type of the business, right? So like here, I don't know, we have like, this is a financial businesses. This one here, I don't know, medical businesses. This is an insurance, construction, etc. Right? So we divide our businesses, the businesses in New York, into subgroups, right? And then we select a random sample of 10 businesses from each type. So it's like from the first type, from the financial subgroup, I'm going to select a sample of 10 businesses. From the medical subgroup or category, I'm going to select a sample of 10 businesses, etc. Same here, sample of 10 businesses, a sample of 10 businesses from the construction, etc. Right? Yes, that will be a stratified. That's a stratified sampling, right? So if you compare this image or this graph like to the the one we had in the stratified. Where is the stratified? Here. You see the stratified, we divided the population into, into subgroups. So we have like 3 or 4 subgroups or wherever. And then we choose random sample from each subgroup. Okay, so that's exactly what we do here in C. We select a sample of 10 businesses from each type, right? So yes, so this would be a stratified. Sampling. Okay. Does this make sense to you guys? Okay, now let's have another exercise, all right? So as I said, this is just our first exercise, so it's normal if it's kind of confusing, but we'll see the next exercise. Well, hopefully things get better, okay? So let's have another exercise. Please let me know, guys. I mean, if you don't hear me, please let me know, okay? Because I mean, I don't know, but tonight probably there are some problems with Zoom for some reason, or with my iPad or something. All right, so exercise number 2. So it's gonna be a similar exercise, okay? So it's the same thing. So let's say in this exercise, so let me write down the exercise for you. So the management of let's say of a chain of hospitals wants to survey patients discharged let's say the past year. All right. They need a survey, I don't know, for example, to obtain the patient satisfaction profiles or something, and so we need this survey, and we want to use a sample of of such patients. Discharge the past year. Okay, in A, so we're gonna use different sampling techniques. All right, so in A, let's say, so in A, what we're gonna do in A, we're gonna obtain. So in A, we obtain, let's say, a list of patients discharged let's say from all hospitals. Again, this is a chain of we have like a chain of hospitals, right? From all hospitals. Okay, and let's say what we're gonna do, we're gonna divide the patients according to the length of the hospital stay. Okay, so we divide patients according to the let's say according to the hospital to the length of the hospital stay. All right, of the hospital stay. For example, the hospital stay. So for example, there are like 2 days or less hospital here. Okay, yeah, so hospital stay. So for example, I'm gonna have stays of 2 days or less, and then for example, from 3 to 7 days, and then from 8 to 14 days, and then more than 14 days, for example. 14 days. Okay. And then we're going to take a random sample from each group. We take a random sample. A random sample from each group. Okay. So we have to say, so we have to determine the sampling technique used here, right? So a random sample from each group. Okay. So what's the sampling technique used here? Okay. In B, so what we can do, so in B, we're gonna number all the patients okay, discharged, okay, from all the hospitals. So we're gonna number all the patients discharged from all hospitals. Okay, and let's say we're gonna select a random numbers. Okay. Again, so you have to say which sampling technique we are using here, right? Sampling technique. So what's the sampling technique used here, right? All right, and C. And C. So let's say in C, we're gonna randomly select randomly select 5 hospitals or some hospitals from, let's say, different from each of the let's say from each of the let's say the states. And we're going to include the patients, include all the patients of the selected hospitals in the sample. Selected hospitals in the sample. Okay, and the sample, sorry. All right, guys. Well, we can have more, sampling techniques here, but let's just first start with this ABC. Okay, so this is very similar to the previous exercise. So all you have to do, guys, is to find the corresponding sampling technique. Right, so this is here. Again, you have to find the sampling technique. Right, so I'm gonna give you a couple of minutes to think about this, the A, B, and the C. So the thing, guys, because I'm using my iPad and I'm sharing the screen, I cannot see the the chat window. That's why I'm also using my laptop, so I can see the chat. Um, I mean, this section is just about sampling techniques. Um, I mean, after this exercise, probably we are done with this section, and then we can move to the next section. And the next section, I guess, we start do a lot of computations and you know. But yeah, this section is just about these sampling techniques. Um, so it's just a couple of definitions. Uh, Okay, all right, guys. So any guess for A? Stratified. Yes, absolutely, Amy. Yes, thank you. Yes, very good. Yeah, stratified. So in A, guys, oops. So what will be the population here in this example or this exercise? So I have this management of a chain of hospitals, right? So that the population here would be, of course, would be this the hospitals, right? And so we want to survey patients discharged the past year. So so in A, what we do is we divide these patients, right, according to the length of the hospital stay. So it's like we divide the population, our population, the patients, into subgroups depending on the hospital stay. So, so for example, we have the first group. So in the first group, we have the patients with the hospital stay of 2 days or less. Then another subgroup with the hospital stay from 3 to 7 days, and then we have the from 8 to 14 days, and then we have the last subgroup would be with more than 14 days stay in the hospital, right? So we have like 4 different subgroups depending on the hospital stay, right? Now, what we do next is we take a random sample from each group. So I'm going to take a sample from the first group, the second group, and the third and the fourth group, right? And so that's exactly the stratified sampling. So this is stratified sampling, right? We are dividing the population into subgroups. So here we have 4 subgroups depending on the hospital stay, and then we take a random sample from each subgroup, right? That's exactly stratified sampling. All right, what about number B? Any guess for number B? Yes, Amy, very good. That's just a simple random sample, right? Here we don't divide the population or the patients into subgroups. It's not a systematic, sampling. There's no starting point here. We just number the patients, and then we select some random numbers. So everyone has equal chance of being selected, right? So yes, this is just a simple random sample. So this B, come on. So yes, so B is just a simple random sampling sample. Okay. Yeah. Now, what about the C? Yes, Amy, it's a cluster sampling because so in C, so we divide the hospitals. So in C, we select some hospitals from each of the states, like in the US. So we have 51, of course, states, I guess, etc. So we have all these subgroups, and then all the patients, you see all the patients of the selected hospitals, we include all the patients of the selected hospitals in the sample. So we're going to include, let's say, we select, for example, the first state here, the third one, etc., the fifth one, and then we include all the patients of the selected hospitals in the sample, right? Yeah, so that's a cluster sampling. Cluster sampling. Okay. All right. Any questions so far, guys? Okay, so we have like actually two more problems. So A, B, C, D, and we're gonna have D and E. So next, let me add D here. So it's the same problem. I mean, we have this management of the chain hospitals, and we want to survey patients discharged the past year. You know, so it's just the same problem. So in D, what we're gonna do, so at the beginning of the year, we instruct actually each hospital to survey. So we instruct each hospital. Remember, guys, we have this chain of hospitals, right? So each hospital to survey every fifth or 500th, to survey the 500th patient discharged. Okay. So what will be the corresponding sampling technique, right? In E, last problem, we're gonna extract each hospital to survey each hospital, let's say, to survey 10 discharged patients this week, and just send in the results. Okay, so 10 discharged patients this week. Okay, and then just send in the results. So what will be the corresponding sampling technique? Okay, so I'm going to give you, let's say, a couple of minutes to think about this D and E now. Charlene, systematic. Yes, absolutely. The D would be a systematic sampling. Yes. So like the starting point in D would be like the beginning of the year. So let's say January 1st, that would be like your starting point, and you start like counting your patients, right? Yes, absolutely. Very good. Mhm. So in E, guys, you see, we instruct each hospital to survey 10 discharged patients this week. So, I mean, like in the E, we don't really bother ourselves. We're gonna just survey like 10 patients this week and then just send in the results, right? So E, no, it's not as simple. No, it's not a simple random sample. No, actually, it's not simple. You know, these 10 discharged patients, they are just, you know, they are like the available, yeah, convenience. They are just like the available, they are available, right? Because they are discharged this week. So in some sense, they are available, right? So we can just survey them. Yes. No, so yeah, so the E, actually the E is going to be convenience sampling. So yeah, for D, let me start with the D. So for D, yes, so in D we have like, we start, let me see. Yeah, so in D, you see guys, so at the beginning of the year, we instruct each hospital to survey the 500th patient discharge, right? So it's like we start at January 1st and we count our patients like number 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. So the starting point here is like the first the first patient in January 1st, right? This is like, here's like, this is like you know, this is like January 1st. That's like the first patient in January 1st. That's like our starting point, right? This is our starting point. So we start from January 1st, starting point, and then we count the number of patients, right? So you know, you count the number of patients, and then you know, you arrive to the number 500. So you select the 500th patient discharge after January 1st. So this is my 500th patient, right? So yes, so this is what I call systematic sampling. Okay. Does this make sense to you? Why the D is a systematic sampling? You start, so again, the starting point is the beginning of the year, the January 1st, for the first patient in January 1st, that's like your starting point. And then you count until 500, okay? Now, what the E, okay guys, so in E, we don't divide the patients into a subgroup, so it's not stratified sampling, it's not cluster sampling. It's not a systematic sampling because there's no like a starting point. So the question is it a simple random sample or convenience sampling? Well, again, this is not really simple random sample because you know, not all the patients have equal chance of being selected. So because we are interested in the patients discharged this week, right? This week, as you can see here. Okay, so not all the patients in the hospital have equal chance of being selected. We are just interested in the patients discharged this week. Okay, so it's not like for the whole year. It's just this week. We are interested in this week, and so it's a convenience sampling in this case because these patients are just they are available right this week, so we can just you know we can easily, in some sense, we can easily contact them, right, and we can have our sample. So this is why the E is just a convenience sampling because we are contacting available patients in some sense, right? That patients discharged this week. So this is, So this is just a convenience. Come on. So this is just a convenience sampling. Okay. Because patients discharged this week are, some sense, are available. So because patients discharged this week, they're gonna be available. Or easily available. Okay.
Mister, I can see.
You can see the bottom.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure. All right. I mean, I think, well, with these two exercises, guys, I mean, again, this section is very just about the definitions of sampling techniques. We had two exercises. I think we are almost done actually with this section. That's actually what we need to, let me see. Yeah, I think we are done with this section. So anyway, so yeah, so I guess probably I'm gonna stop here, guys, for tonight because we are done. We are basically done with this section. So next section, that will be section 2.1, and in the section 2.1, we're gonna start doing some computations. So probably we're gonna do some elementary algebra if needed. But anyway, so yeah, I'm gonna stop here for tonight, guys, and hopefully I'm gonna see you on Wednesday in person. All right.
Have a good night.
Have a good
Good
night,
night.
everyone.
Thank
Good night.
you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone.
We don't have homework?
No, not yet. Actually, I'm gonna assign you the first homework on Wednesday. Okay, I will
Okay.
let you know. I will let you know on Wednesday.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
Sure. Good night,
Have a good night,
everyone.
everyone.
And again, if you have any question, please email me anytime. All right. And I'm gonna upload the recording on YouTube, and I will send you the link. Okay.
Okay, great.
Okay. Take care, everyone. Good
You
night.
too. Bye.
Thanks.